I'm a mother of 5 kids from age 17 to 26 right now for 1 more month because they keep changing their age. So the oldest will be 27 in a few weeks. And last year they asked me, not my kids, but last year I got an invitation from a youth group, a youth organization, if I would give them a lecture to college students in their 20s about burnout. And I thought, burnout, sure, no problem. And then as I was starting to prepare for it, I was thinking, burnout. I do burnout workshops as a coach, executive coach. I do burnout presentation for adults, 20s, burnout in 20s. And I realized that I agreed to something that I don't even know what I'm talking about. I was sitting in our car, going home from church one day with my kids in the car. And I said, and tonight I will have to start preparing for a burnout lecture. And you know what? Kids in their 20s asked me to give a presentation. What do they know about burnout? And I was going on and complaining, you know, the mother complaint kind of a thing. So suddenly one of my kids said, Mom, if you really think that we don't have a reason to burn out for, that you don't understand us and don't do the lecture. And I said, ooh. This is when a counselor goes, recalculating. And I said, what is it that I don't understand? Maybe you're right, son. Maybe I really don't understand you guys. And my kids in the car who are in college, who are just past college, who are in high school getting ready for college, they started to tell me things that I want to show you today. Actually, I put my presentation together that the outline, the basics of it came from the remarks of my kids and comments that I realized that were coming from different areas of other kids, their friends that I have met before. So what is this pressure? One of the things I heard them say is that God has lost a track of us. Why would you ever complain, O Jacob, or whine, Israel, saying God has lost track of me? He doesn't care what happens to me. For even young people tire and drop out. Young folk in their prime stumble and fall. It's something we never consider. Young people tire out, stumble and fall. Young people shouldn't tire out, but they often feel they tire out. And the question is, what is it that they tire out of? What is burning them out? I would like to show you some of the lies that they live in today, in this world. One of the number one lies is that it's all depends on you. Everything depends on you. I love that little light bulb plugging himself in. I wonder where the light comes from when the light bulb is not lit on yet, but trying to hook it into the electricity. And it's a perfect example of the self-made man. It all depends on you. The pressure is on them. They say, your uniqueness. You are unique if you make sure you are unique. You will be unique if you can prove it, if you can make yourself to be unique. That's a pressure that's on them. If you want to know how much it is, go on and look at some YouTube channels and see what the pressure that is on them. They have to have some kind of a perfect life. They say the lie is, it all depends on you. If your life is to its perfection or not. Your life should be perfect. You shouldn't have any problems. What problems you could have in the Western world in the 21st century when all the provision that we have is over-provided. All the things that we need is there. So how on earth could you not have a perfect life? Your outstanding career, it all depends on you. It all depends on you. The pressure is that you should have a startup company. I mean, kids graduate from college with the burden that, oh my gosh, I am already late. I'm only 21, but I should have already started a startup. I mean, think about it. When I was 21, I never even considered where I would want to work. I was just thinking, where is an opening? I didn't even care about career. The thought career didn't even come to my mind. The only thing that I was thinking about, how to live a life, how to provide for myself, how to go on like my parents did. For them, it's not an issue. For them, the issue is, am I big enough? Am I making a big enough career? Will I have a startup? And will I retire by 30? Do you know that is the newest thing? You're supposed to retire by 30. If you want to be successful, you will retire by 30. And if you don't believe it, go on YouTube and you will find channels and people who prove it to you. I retired at 30. I'm way behind that. And if you don't achieve enough to have a startup company, to be a CEO of your own company or of a friend's company, if you don't achieve enough to retire by 30, you're a loser. That's the pressure they have on. And my kids say that. They say they feel like a loser constantly because they cannot prove the perfection, the none, plus, and the above. The pressure and the lie that you are capable for all. It all depends on you. You can do it. You can do it. You thought you couldn't do it. You can do it. And I'm thinking, could I ever do high jump? You know, when you do that jump with the rod, what do you call it? You know, the pole jumping. Is it pole jumping or whatever? I mean, I couldn't even reach the top of the pole. How could on earth ever do it? Are we really capable of all? Because today's youth are told that they are capable of all. And if they did not reach it all, it is all because of them. Do you hear the shaming that is framed as possibility? Do you hear the shaming that is presented as an encouragement? Is it really encouragement that you can do it all? Is it really an encouragement? Because what I see, kids being burned out. Many of them give up before the end of school because they say, I will never reach that. So if I step out now, nobody will ask me how come. And of course, it all depends on you if your life is easy or not. Life should be easy. If you have a problem, if you have struggles, if you have questions, if you have difficulties, it's all your fault. Wouldn't you or I burn out under a pressure like this? These are subtle pressures that we don't even realize, but they live under these pressures. Camus said, we don't have time to be ourselves, we only have time to be happy. What a truth. Today's society is pushing us, the media is pushing our kids, a younger generation, to say, all you have to do is pursue happiness, because that's when you will be you. But it is not true. In the pursuit of happiness, we lose our identity, we lose our character, and we become ashamed, because that's what I see with youth. The lies of expectations result in so low self-acceptance. You should know it all. To know is to know that you know nothing, said Socrates. That is the meaning of true knowledge. You know, Socrates, before he was executed, this is one of the claims he said in the last speech he gave. I know that I know nothing. What wisdom. And today we tell kids, you should know everything. And we call it wisdom. In Proverbs, we read, do you see a man who is wise in his own eyes? There is more hope for a fool than for him. The encouragement that they get on a daily basis, you can be wise in your own eyes. When I was growing up, I remember I had heroes. The word hero does not exist anymore. Heroes were exceptional people with character that I looked up to, and I said, I want to be like him, I want to be like her. Do you hear kids talk about heroes I want to be like? They usually say, I want to be me with its fullness. There are no heroes. We want to be, they are saying, we just want to be wise in our own eyes. You should do only what is perfectly done. And your life should be careless and fun. Careless and fun. No struggles, no difficulties, no pain. We still had the saying, no pain, no gain. Today, that saying is not known anymore. They say if there is pain, then the gain doesn't worth it anymore. Where is the reality in all this? Because when you don't achieve the careless and fun life, how will you look at yourself? They say everybody should be a leader. Oh, they don't see it like this. They say you can be a leader if you try enough. You can be a leader if you want enough. I remember when my youngest son, who is 17 now, and I'm free to talk about him because he will never watch this video. But I remember when he was about 14, he is constantly playing soccer. He is on 2 soccer teams, and even if there is nobody out on the field, everybody knows that there is one kid out on the field. Whether it's raining, it's storming, he is out there playing on his own or with a group of people, but he's out there playing. And once I asked him, I said, son, don't you want to be a captain of the team? What a dumb question from a counselor mother. And he put his spoon down and he said, no. And he kept on eating, and I said, how come? And he put his spoon down for good, and he looked at me, Mom, not everybody has to be a captain. They wouldn't listen to me, and I wouldn't want them to listen to me. I enjoy playing. You know, you need players on a team. And I looked at him, I said, son, you just taught me something. Because even I fell into the trap of thinking my son should be the captain of the team. After all, he's always there, he's always good, he's always dedicated, he's always having family arguments, and having the whole family are having arguments about, is he coming with the family or is he going for a soccer meet? Does everybody have to be a leader? Because if it was up to today's society, there would be 11 captains on a team without players. They say the lie of expectations is self-realize yourself. Make yourself to be everything imaginable. And the pressure is on. Because if I have become who I dream to be, who I want to be, who everybody will applaud, then I will become myself and I can be satisfied. And of course, I cannot skip this one. You got to marry the perfect one. And people think that you will get to get married and have a happily lived ever after. Because I married the perfect one. And after dating, they realize she is not the perfect one. He is not the perfect. Oh my gosh, he has problems. Oh my gosh, he is weird in things. And what then? Are we not going to work on a relationship? Because with the married, the perfect one, we are teaching kids that they don't work on relationship. They expect the perfect. But isn't relationship about work? Our kids are going through a pressure about expectations and lies that is lowering their self-acceptance, that is shaming them. And there is the eyes of the world that is on you. I mean, think about it. Can you do anything without people watching you? I mean, everything will be pictured, put on Facebook and Twitter, and everybody will know. Right away, visible. I remember when I was coming to this lecture, I was thinking about these, and I started parking in a very narrow street. Well, parallel parking in a narrow street for a woman is a challenge, okay? So I started coming out and backing out, and the perfectionist woman is in a greater challenge because it got to stand straight, okay? Exactly same amount of space in front of and behind. And you just can't leave your car if it's not like that. So here I'm parking back and forth, and suddenly it hit me. What if somebody's watching and taping it? And tomorrow night, it will be on YouTube. Look at the psychologist who can't even park. How could she help out people? And I'm thinking, I better do it right. They are taping me somewhere. But isn't that what our kids experience? Because when they are in a party, they are afraid to be themselves because who is taping them? When they are in a classroom, they are afraid to raise their hands and ask a question because who knows who is taping them? Who knows who is twittering them? Or tweeting them? Whatever, it's a new word. So they are in the grip of fear. The world will see versus genuine character, intimate moments, and deep relationships. They are afraid to have intimate moments because you never know who is catching you with a picture, with a recording. I never had those pressures. I was sitting with my brothers on the rooftop at my grandfather's house, and who cared? Wouldn't you be prone to burnout if you knew this, that you're living out in public? Because that's what they are struggling with. In the grip of impatience, quick and revolutionary changes right away. Come on, let's have some new idea. Let's have some fast revolutionary change. Let's see some new ideas versus patience and perseverance and loyalty. All teachers want something new from students. But is life really about quick, fast, revolutionary changes? Or is it about patience and perseverance? When I fail 100 times, I will still keep on doing it until I find a solution. Would today kids go as far as trying 100 times? Because most of them will give up after one. Their attention span has shortened because of the expectance of fast and revolutionary changes. St. Augustine said, "If habit, if not resisted, soon becomes a necessity." The habit of impatience, the habit of fear and visibility. Everybody has it good. You are the only loser. That's another one that comes from the Facebook. One of my kids said that, "Mom, you know what it's like? It's like you're nervous studying late at night and you go to the bathroom, sit down on the toilet, and while you're having struggles for tomorrow's exam, you see that somebody else is just climbing the Himalaya. They are having fun up there in the mountains. They are just out there going down to the beach. You're the only one suffering. Everybody else is enjoying life." The eyes of the world. Games of self-justification instead of transparency, vulnerability, and compassion. Games of proving I am somebody. I will show you how good I am. Instead of having transparent lives when we can show our vulnerability and when we can have compassion. Our youth is experiencing it 24/7 and has been going on in their lives without them realizing it. Just think about it. Wouldn't you be burned out? When I heard my kids talk about it, my heart really went out to them. Because I was thinking, here I am trying to do my best for them, and I didn't even realize the pressure that they are under. The eyes of the world on you is sacrificing intimacy for visibility. Intimacy for visibility. Is there intimate relationships in our children's eyes, in their lives, in our youth groups? Do they have a chance experiencing intimacy? Because today's society is sacrificing intimacy and the experience of developing intimate relationships for visibility, for self-proof, for a narcissistic demand. So what is burning them out? The question is, where is their safety? Anxiety. Lives of expectations is about anxiety, and the eyes of this world is about anxiety. It all depends on you. It says it's a high stressor. If it all depends on me, then I have to do it well. If expectations are on me, then sooner or later I will realize that I cannot meet all the expectations because I will not have a startup. I will not be the leader. And I cannot retire at 30. And you know the result of unmet expectations is? Resentment and low self-esteem. I am a loser. What a dummy. And where will they find their fulfillment in relationships? If I am a dummy and I am a loser, where will they find the healing, the pain killing for their resentment and low self-esteem? What is it that they are going to prove themselves with? And the result of the eyes of the world is on you is a narcissistic demand and low responsibility. Everything about me. Everything is about me. Everything has to be shown as perfect. I have to be seen as perfect. And I don't care how much does it take away from others, because responsibility is lowered in order for me to be hired, lifted up. The Message Bible translates this verse from Matthew. If your first concern is to look after yourself, you'll never find yourself. But if you forget about yourself and look to me, you'll find both yourself and me. I purposely picked the Message Bible because today's youth are put a pressure on that your first concern should be looking after for yourself. Make sure you are the self-made man and make sure it is perfect. So what is the truth instead of the lies? Your uniqueness. That you are made in the image of God. Isn't that unique? Isn't that unique enough? And when I gave my lecture to these university students, and I came to this point because it's almost the same, I saw their expression on their faces. They were surprised and they were touched. And I was thinking to myself, I'm not saying anything new. What's so new? Do we realize and do they realize that being made in the image of God, how unique that is? Because there is no greater healing for that, because everybody else will try to find something that is more unique. But can anything be more unique than the image of the Creator and the image of the Savior? Perfect world and perfect life. The reality is that we live in a fallen world, and accepting reality brings peace instead of anxiety. learning that suffering, as we heard this morning, suffering is a part of life. We are not living in the Garden of Eden. We are living outside the Garden of Eden. And it is time for us to realize it and teach our children, because they will never see the difference between lie and truth. The truth is that we live in a fallen world. One day we will have it perfect again. But until then, suffering and pain and struggles and exhaustion and disappointment is a part of life. See, the thing is that once you realize that something is a normal thing in your life, normalizing somebody actually is calming down. As a counselor, when people come to me, one of the number one things I listen to is it normal or is it abnormal? Wouldn't I be anxious if I was in his place? Wouldn't I be depressed if I was in his place? And often I realize that's total normal. And when I tell them, you're not abnormal, you're very normal, I would react the same way. A normal person hurts at losses like this. And you know what the reaction is? Anxiety level goes down. Why? Because they realize, it is just a part of my suffering process, of my grieving process. So when we teach our kids that we live in a fallen world, no, we are not giving them some negative picture of life. We are giving them reality and lowering their anxiety. The truth is, instead of importance of success, the importance of healthy relationships. Even relationships are measured today by success. Who do you know? How many of the successful people do you know? How can you prove that this is a good enough relationship? What can you show on Facebook, on Twitter? What pictures do you have that can make us jealous of your life? Then you have it good. But who would talk about having a relationship that we argued and conflicted and had contradictions and reconciled and forgave, and we are working on? It's not a picture to go on the internet, is it? Who would want to say, we had another fight? This is really relationship. Would we go and say, oh, like it? Our kids need to know the truth, because everything else is they're surrounded with lies. That careers come and go, but working on your character will last for a lifetime. Career is something that you have one day, and the next day you won't have. Career is something that only a few people have. Most people just have jobs. And what's wrong with having jobs? But building a character will have a great influence for a lifetime, and will give you sound sleep for a lifetime. Instead of visibility to people, visibility to God. Are we visible to God? Or are we working on the images that we reflect to people? You're not capable of all, but you will have strength for all in Christ. See, we think about these words like, oh yeah, I know. But if you take it down to the deep essence of a youth, of a 20-year-old kid, a 25-year-old kid who is there, has already a degree and struggling with everybody else who is making it, for them to say, you know what? Yeah, maybe you will not be able to make it all, but whatever you do, God will be with you. That will give them strength. But the question is, do we teach this to our children? Do we teach this in our youth groups? Because sometimes what I see is that youth groups are just filled with wonderful new ideas and questions and workshops. but they need guidance for a real life. They need to know that we live in a fallen world and know you're not a loser because you're struggling in this world. And they need to know it's okay not to have it all, but God will be with you in all. The only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your very existence is an act of rebellion. Camus said that. Think about it. I love this sentence. I love Camus because Camus just has sentences just exactly expresses what I think. But I always take it further. Can anybody be absolutely free in an unfree world? No. And yes, in this unfree world, we can be free. Nobody can be as free as we can be in our existence because we are His. When you know that all the treasure that this world is offering and demanding of you is just a temporary treasure, and you know that you have the real treasure in Christ, that you have the real treasure in His presence in your life, that son, whatever will happen, He is with you. I teach my kids, and sometimes I tell them, sweetheart, I don't want to plan my death. I plan to live on for 120 years. I really do, honestly, I do. I plan 120. But I always tell them, not always, sometimes I tell them, I want you to remember this because when I am not here anymore, you need to know who to rely on. Because it is an unfree world. And you know, Hungarians like to be rebellious. So I encourage my kids, be rebellious. But be rebellious with your free existence. Can we have a free existence? Because our kids want to be rebellious. They want to rebel because they are fed up. They are all fed up. You should have seen the faces I saw during this lecture. They said, yes, we had it. We cannot handle the pressure anymore. And yes, we want to rebel against it, but we don't know how. And I said, okay, go to Christ. That's the best rebellion. You want to be rebellious? Be a Christian. Be Christ-centered. Be free in Him. For this commandment that I command you today is not too hard for you, neither is it far off. It is not in heaven that you should say, who will ascend to heaven for us and bring it to us that we may hear it and do it. Neither is it beyond the sea that you should say, who will go over the sea for us and bring it to us that we may hear it and do it. But the word is very near you. It is in your mouth and it is in your heart so that you can do it. You know what strikes me? It is in our mouth. It is not far away. God is not saying it's not even near you. It is in our mouth. And it is in our heart. It is in mine. And still, sometimes I just don't see it. Sometimes I just don't speak it and don't do it. Therefore, choose life, that you and your offsprings may live, loving the Lord your God, obeying His voice, and holding fast to Him, so you may be very free in your existence. For He is your life and length of days. That is the truth. In the middle of the lies, in the midst of the lies that they live. So how can you support them? How can we help them? We need to talk with them about what it means to be uniquely created in the image of God. I remember when one of my kids was having a classmate. She was a first grader. And one of her best friends failed first grade. I knew about it, and we talked about it. But then in church, the mother of the girl came to me and said, "Thank you so much." And I said, "For what?" And she said, "My daughter was comforted by your daughter." And I said, "Really? I didn't know about this. I really didn't know about this." And she said, "Your daughter came up to my daughter, 6-year-old, and said, 'Maybe you failed first grade, but we just need to find how God created you unique, because He creates everybody unique. We just haven't seen it yet.'" And this little girl, somehow her brokenness, or the edge of brokenness, came back to a search at 6 years of age of where is my uniqueness that God created me to be. Of course, the older they get, and the greater of the pressure is. It is a daily struggle to show them, where is your uniqueness? Because wisdom is not prized by today's society, and faithfulness is not applauded, and perseverance is not even recognized. But do we see their uniqueness, and can we talk to them about it, and can we show them? Can we help them to grieve their feelings and the experiences of the fallen world? Out of the 5 kids, 4 has graduated from college, from high school. 4 now want to go. And one of the most surprising things that I have never read about as a counselor came to me when I realized that all of my kids, their first semester of college, they went emotionally down, every single one of them. I have yet the youngest one to prove me that it can be other way. But every one of them said, in one way or another, "Mom, I didn't know the world is like this. I didn't know." Their disappointment in the adult world, when they don't have their classes anymore, they don't have the old friends anymore, when teachers are not treating them as kids anymore, but teaching them as adults who can have arm wrestling with them, who can have battles with them, who can be humiliated unless you save yourself from humiliation. Every one of them went through a phase of grieving what this world is like. Do you know that the kids in 20s struggle because they don't like the adult world? Do you know this? Do you know this? Do we know it? Are we aware of it in our youth groups and youth camps? Or are we helping them play make-believe? Their reality is pain. But what is going to be their painkiller if we don't listen to them? If we don't let them grieve and just comfort them quickly, don't talk about it because I, myself, cannot handle the pain of adulthood. Are we there and grieving with them? Because I think that's what they need. They need us to sit down with them and say, "I'm sorry, honey. Yes, life is like that. Yes, there are a lot of unhealthy people and a lot of mean people and even evil people. Yes, people can be evil. I know it's politically not correct, but yes, people can be evil." Ooh, Emoke got a little excited here, I'm sorry. Are we grieving with them? Because they're losing childhood and they are there. And when we allow them to grieve that, that also gives them a breath of fresh air when they can ask you and say, then where is the world for me? And what is it like? If we don't let our children grieve and talk and show their version of life, what they see, they will not be open to our ideas and recommendations and instructions. Because if you don't see somebody listening to you, they don't believe you understand, so why would they even bother about your ideas and your solutions? Give them the experience of healthy relationship. Are we having healthy relationship with our youth? My experience is that by the time they graduate from college, most kids are left alone. Even Christians, no difference. They are left alone. You should know by now, you have it together by now. Well, except when it comes to their room. Well, that's a different question. But are we there with them? Are we talking as much as we were talking when they were younger? I make an effort. I commute every day 30 kilometers. It takes me about an hour drive from home to work and from work to home. All my kids are studying in Budapest. I live in a small town 30 kilometers from Budapest, and I work in Budapest. I make an effort to take them to Budapest or to bring them home. Anytime I'm there, they have bus tickets, and there is a direct line, puts them down almost in front of our house. But you know what? Those are the most precious hours of my life. You have no idea how much kids can talk when you are confined into a little capsule that is called car. They have no escape way. They are stuck with you. And first they will pretend that they want to sleep. Then they realize they can't sleep next to you. And sooner or later they will just ask a question, make a comment. And you know what? That's the best way to build a child up to adulthood. Even if they're in their 20s, they're craving your teachings. They're craving your ideas, your insight, your encouragement, your understanding, your empathy, your sympathy. They want to see that you hurt with their pain. They want to see that you rejoice with their discoveries and their joy. And it's exactly what we don't give our kids in their 20s. They get demands, they get expectations, but they don't get genuine relationships. It is so easy, and it is still somehow so easy to forget. But when we teach them what healthy, genuine relationships are, we can also show them being with them. That was what I said. Encouraging healthy peer relationships, youth groups. I encourage my kids, go and bring friends over. Right before I left home, my 17-year-old came up to me and said, Mom, when are you coming back? Oh, you know what that question means. And I said, well, Thursday night. Why, you want to have friends over? She said, can I? And I said, please, bring them over. Order some pizza and enjoy your time. Bring them over. I want my home to be a safe place for my kids. Not safe place in the terms that it is used, but a place where they can have real friendships. And I rejoice over seeing friends that are lasting friendships. Not 1 year comes one friend and 6 months later comes another friend, but friends that have been there at their side for years, 4, 5, 6, 10 years. Oh, how wonderful it is. because it means they are working on their relationships, on their friendships. Make an effort to talk about visibility to God 24/7 and be an example. And by this, I am not saying God can see it, watch out. But sometimes my kids will ask me questions about my life. And I want to be visible to God in front of them, because that's the only way I can ask them to be visible to God. Because the world says you are visible only to us. The world says you are visible to everybody. And I'm saying, forget the visibility on this level. Focus on this visibility. Because that is more accepting than this one. That is a higher belonging than this one. Are we examples of visibility to God? Because our kids learn by example. And encourage prayer to teach them to draw close to God for strength. So many times, I have sat down with my kids in different occasions and just say, can we pray? Even in the car at a red light, I will say, you know, right before you jump out at the next red light, let me pray for you. And I reach over and I just say one sentence, but it is constantly presence. So, you know, sometimes I think we wait for great moments of prayer. I don't think we need them. I think just one sentence at a red light is a blessing. My most rebellious kid the other day sent me a text message. In the morning, right before he got out of the car, I said, let me pray for you. And I said, knowing his patience with me, I said, God, help him remember, and help him to be creative when he doesn't remember. That's all I prayed. And in the afternoon, I get a text. Mom, it went really well. I think I made it. SDG. Soli Deo Gloria. Only God be the glory. And I said, how good that I prayed at the red light. Otherwise, he would think it's his. Are you encouraging your kids to pray? Are we encouraging them to pray? Are we praying constantly? Do they see us on our knees? I remember my grandmother. I remember her kneeling down, and I remember as a child kneeling down by her bed every night when I was with her. And you know, I remember my father. I remember every single day I saw him with the Bible. And the day he died, he looked at me that morning and he said, I haven't read the word this morning. If I knew that he would die, I would have told him, that's okay, you will hear it face to face today. Do they see us as warriors of prayer? Or is it just a slogan to them? In Hungary, the high school exam is one of the highest exam and most demanding exams in Hungary. I don't know how is it in your country, but it's a very, very strong expectations of all the 12 years of knowledge, a lot of memorization, a lot of pain, very strict, very demanding. It's just the top exam of the country. And I remember when I was telling one of my daughters, she was really nervous and anxious about before one of her exams, and I said, you know what, honey, I will be praying for you today. And when you go in there and you see that you cannot understand something, or you get anxious and you start get nervous, think about it. Jesus is sitting next to you. So she comes home in the evening, and I said, I've been praying for you, how was it? And she said, oh, Mommy, it was really good, you know. And I thought about Jesus sitting next to me, and I was thinking, yeah. And she said, but when I looked over to the chair where he must be sitting, the teacher told me, stop looking around. Wouldn't that be good if prayer and expecting answer would be a real part of our youth's life? but it will be only real part if that's what they see from me and from us. Remind them and help them see when God answers prayers. Help them grow in thankfulness. Thankfulness is the base of hope. You will hear me talk about it tomorrow. I don't think we can have hope without looking back and being able to see how God has been faithful to us. Thankfulness changes our mind, changes our heart, and changes our character. Thankfulness changes our life satisfaction. Are we thankful? Are we teaching our youth to be thankful, or are we just teaching them how to ask? And let them see you as you fight the battle. I think we Christian parents and we Christians in ministry, we fall in the trap of being perfect. So when the world says, be perfect, and then we show them as I am perfect, then they have more and more anxiety put on them. Think about it. Expectation from the world and expectation from our leaders or our parents. If I am perfect, that's devastating for them, especially for youth in their 20s. Do they see our battles? Do they see the reality of our lives? Do they see how we stumble and fall and get weary and anxious? Do they see it? Do they see how sometimes we have no clue which direction to go? And do they see how we resolve those issues? Because those are the greatest life examples. Those are the greatest life examples. Those who are wise will shine like the brightness of the heavens, and those who lead many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. One of the reasons I fight with God when it comes to my battles, because that's what I saw from my father. That's what I saw from him as a political prisoner. That's what I saw when he was struggling with everyday battles, expectations and lies. And that was one of the verses that he told me when it came to ministry. Be wise. And we know that the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. Be wise, because those who are wise will shine and will lead many to righteousness. May you shine and lead many to righteousness.